A very good afternoon to our Honorable Minister who has joined us this afternoon for this extremely important session on digitization roadmap to support growth of the Indian economy. A very, very warm welcome to our beloved Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, the Union Minister for Government of India. Thank you so much, sir. I would also like to welcome the speakers of the session. I'll just introduce them to you, sir. I have Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, who is the President of ASSOCHAM. I have with me Kamaljeet Baba. He's the President and MD of SAP. Sorry, Kulneet Baba and Shri P. Balaji, Chairman of the ASSOCHAM National Council. We are having a parallel session right now running on MSMEs. So Vineet Agarwalji is finishing that and will be joining us very shortly. So he's not on the screen right now, but he will join very, very shortly. Thank you for your understanding over there, sir. It's truly an honor to have you with us this morning, sir. And the whole confidence of the Indian industry, especially post the COVID, during the COVID, where the world had shut down, was rather somber. But with the positive steps taken by the government, I think that has really turned around, and the green shoots of recovery are very, very visible in most of the sectors. These are because of the timely actions that the government took, whether it was on financial packages, the various tranches that got announced by the government, and especially also the large number of reforms which keep in mind the larger growth that is possible for the country and economy, which is extremely crucial and important to my mind. Country India is full of strengths and its potential is immense. It is supported by strong fundamentals of macros, but most importantly, the talent pool that this country has, and we can and will emerge from any of the situations that we are put into. Last year, the same time, the Honorable Prime Minister of India had addressed ASSOCHAM's 100 centenary year celebrations at Vigyan Bhavan, and he laid a roadmap of the $5 trillion economy, followed which you had also joined the same session and had discussed with us the roadmap for the digital space and how digitization is going to take this forward. I'm very happy to say, sir, thank you very much for joining us this year as well. And Honorable Prime Minister is going to join us tomorrow. Just to share with you, sir, we are doing a century award, which is called the Centenary Award, and Mr. Ratan Tata would be the recipient of the award on the hands of the Prime Minister. So that's something which is happening tomorrow. This is just for this. When the business operations had shut down, sir, it was the digital platform which was created by the government of India, which brought this continuity, whether it was telemedicine, whether it was business, whether banks, stock exchanges, logistics, everything continued to perform the way, all because of the creation of the digital infrastructure. Even the education system of the schools still continues to work. While there are challenges with respect to the digital divide over there, but I'm sure these are things which will come our way, and we will have to look at solutions, and new challenges will always keep coming and new answers will have to be found. So with these initial words, and another warm welcome to you once more, I'm now going to request Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, the President of ASSOCHAM, to address us. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon to you on this wonderful occasion wherein we have the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, to address us tomorrow, as Mr. Deepak Sood has already mentioned, and the very difficult year due to the COVID times that we have gone through. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, we are so honored and delighted that you since 2014 have led this department with such great success that we have actually been able to handle a large amount of economic issues due to the digital connectivity, digital platforms, and other things that you have done. It is my second opportunity to connect with you during this COVID times, and the first time when we met at the time of the inauguration of the Yotta Data Center in Navi Mumbai, which happens to be the largest data center in Asia and the second largest tier 4 data center in the entire world. All this makes a world of a difference. You'll be happy to note that subsequent to that, there are now plans for Yotta to set up other data centers in Greater Noida, and also other companies are also planning to set up further data centers in Noida and in UP. This itself is an indication of the things that are happening rapidly in the data area. The Prime Minister's announcement of the $5 trillion economy will actually mean that more than $1 trillion economy will be generated through the digital media. With the Atmanirbhar Bharat target, which the Prime Minister has said, data becomes the new oil in the engine of this economy. Today, all the directions that we have set are just but a scratch on the surface. Data warehousing, data management, data refining is going to move through unprecedented growth. The importance which the Prime Minister has said, and sir, you have constantly repeated, data localization, data security, cyber security, e-governance, all these factors have been highlighted by you personally and your ministry on various occasions. We will take up the importance of data management to the highest level so that it is not only localization of data within our country to hold it, but we want to become the data center localization of this part of the world, if not the entire world, at least on the part of Asia. We do believe that the IT segment can and is one of the largest employees. Also, we do think that the IT segment will be the knowledge partner in the entire world, and India supplies a large number of IT engineers to the entire world. This data and this fact should be further increased through the national education policy, wherein we will take up the issue of training and working of all these people to the next level. You have, sir, provided us the right framework within this media can expand. The importance which is there in order to look after the national interest of the country has been further done. We do believe that during this lockdown period, as Mr. Deepak Sood has just mentioned, a large amount of things were made operational. The banking system continued non-stop. And this is something very important in order to see that the system worked. E-platforms, purchasing, e-marketing, all these things made a difference. Sir, I do belong to the education field along with the real estate field. We have in Mumbai region 14 colleges with 45,000 students. Within 30 days of lockdown, we had 100% of the students on the online platform. This would normally have been an impossible task. This was, in fact, in spite of the fact that many people really did not have the number of smartphones which were available to all. People and students shared the smartphones. In spite of that, we did very well. We also conducted e-examinations through online platforms. All these indicate the progress that the digital platform and the roadmap to the next level at which we are going to take. We do believe that your leadership has been very fruitful to it. We do believe that academia, the public sector, the private sector should work together to take this to the next level. We should encourage new technologies to come in. We have to work together in ASSOCHAM and sir, with your ministry for skill and capacity building to work on standardization, operational work, regulatory framework, environment, cyber security, and public safety. An effort in this direction would be very useful. We do believe that the combination of partnership between government and the private sector will go a lot of way. We do believe that this is something which is going to be the next foot forward. And the digital area of tomorrow, India, Bharat, will be the leader. I assure you, sir, that ASSOCHAM will always be by your side in all these activities. We have 4.5 lakh MSMEs who are actually directly and indirectly affiliated to ASSOCHAM. All these have benefited on the digital platform, and they will continue to do so. We seek your support, we seek your guidance, and we seek your direction. And we assure you that we are partners fully with the Honorable Prime Minister's ambitious target of $5 trillion to make Atmanirbhar Bharat, wherein it is not self-sufficiency of India, but we should rule the digital world and the IT world. We shall, with your guidance, take leadership in the entire world. Thank you very much for coming here, and look forward to always being together to take the nation forward. Jai Hind. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, President. Thank you for that address. I would now like to invite Gurmeet Bawa. I'm really sorry for making the fumble with your name earlier. So thank you. And it kind of, once again, over to you, Gurmeet.
Thank you, Deepak, and thank you, Mr. Hiranandani. Am I audible? Can you hear me clearly? Okay. So, look, Honorable Minister for Law and Justice, Electronics and IT and Communications, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasadji, Mr. Hiranandani, President ASSOCHAM, Mr. Deepak Sood, Mr. Balaji, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by actually thanking ASSOCHAM for this opportunity. And we were just talking before we started off, right? I think it's just the opportunity to participate in the Foundation Week celebration is brilliant. As one of the oldest and, if I could call it, the leading industry bodies of India, ASSOCHAM has acted as a transformational force between the industry and the government, and has always, I would say, facilitated a very open exchange of ideas. And to have completed 10 decades so successfully is no mean achievement. So congratulations, Mr. Hiranandani, and to everyone for this proud moment. And before I proceed, and I know, Niranjanji, you've touched upon it, but I would really like to thank the Honorable Minister for his continued support to the IT industry throughout the term of this government, and even more so during the pandemic months. As the world continues to embrace digital, I believe that the work done by the Indian government towards creating a digital India over the past few years has been truly, truly commendable. And even during the pandemic, like I said, the government's support to technology has been unyielding and continuous. We continue setting benchmarks as a nation, whether it's the Aadhaar or the Umang or the common service centers, or just the ongoing efforts that we are providing for rural connectivity. Extremely grateful for leading this charge, Honorable Minister. And needless to say, Deepak, you touched upon it initially, needless to say, these are extraordinary times, and the year has taken its toll, both on individuals as well as on livelihood. But as we've witnessed, I guess the current crisis has also served as a catalyst for the adoption of digital technologies, which in turn have opened up a plethora of new frontiers, if I could call it that, for our future. So whether, as we move from contact tracing to vaccine management, technology will continue to play a bigger role. And look, I've always been a very diehard patriot as well as an optimist when it comes to India. And for those who know me, have known me for the last few decades as a true patriot. And I guess this started very early, in my early years while I was in the army, my first stint. I believe we are a nation filled with charisma and exuberance and youth and intelligence. We are truly unmatched the world over, whether it's through our culture or whether it's through the technical prowess. And today we have a massive opportunity ahead of us, whether it's our demographic advantage or just the fact that the large domestic market that we have, or the headroom for growth against every single metric. I think all of this continues to work in our favor and contribute to what I term very often as the attractiveness of India. Perhaps we should have a quotient for this sometime. But add to this the significant jump that we are witnessing around innovation, and of course, the rankings that have improved on ease of doing business. And it does seem to me that we are very much on our way towards creating a digital lifeline, if I could call it that. And in my views, look, there are two areas that I wanted to talk about very briefly, which continue to emerge as being truly transformational. And they're not new, but I still wanted to reiterate them and call them out because I think they are true game changers for our country, for our nation. The first, of course, is around the whole SME and the digital enablement of the SMEs. And I heard Deepak mention there's an MSME parallel track going on. But this is a sector which is clearly one of the main engines for our countries, for India's economic growth. And now with the whole shift in the recent geopolitical developments, I guess the Indian SMEs have an opportunity larger than ever to take or to claim the lion's share as manufacturing locations start to shift. And I'm personally very bullish about it. And today, for statistics, I believe the SMEs account for about 29% of our GDP. But as we realize our vision, what you mentioned on the $5 trillion economy, I guess they will need to contribute about 50% to our GDP and about 70% to our exports. And in order for them to grow at this pace and at this speed, I guess this will need to be facilitated by robust supply chains, by technology-driven systems, and of course, quality products and services. The second area that I wanted to touch upon briefly, and again, I heard it right in the beginning, is on the creation of a robust talent pool. We are gifted. We do have one of the best talents in the world. We do have one of the largest working age populations, as we know, and we are expected to add more than 10 to 12 million approximately across the next decade. And this is annually. However, within the country, we continue to face a shortage or a paucity of skilled workforce. And therefore, I guess creation of an ecosystem for this talent development will go a long, long way and will be crucial to India's success. And to be fair, I know the government's doing its bit. This does require a multi-stakeholder commitment. While it needs a collaboration between industry and government for sure, I also think it warrants each and every one of us at an individual level to raise our hands, to step up and come up with ideas of how we can, in our individual capacities, contribute towards this mission. And at SAP, we have been partnering for several years, I guess, with both the central and the state governments, as also with industry associations towards workforce planning, skilling, and reskilling. And broadly, we've been working on three pillars which form part of our flagship programs. The first, of course, being to provide global market access to our SMEs. Number two is around skilling and enablement. And lastly, how do we provide affordable enterprise solutions which are state-of-art, which are the world's best to some of our MSMEs and to India. And so as we solve for these two critical areas, I think we will continue to catalyze the Industry 4.0 opportunity or journey for Indian companies. We would also be very well poised to lead the way in building these smarter supply chains or reimagining business models around artificial intelligence and some of the new technologies that we talk about. And more so, we would be adept at delivering those personalized, ubiquitous experiences that are so essential in today's experience economy. And as I end and sign off, I'd just like to reiterate that at SAP, we remain committed to working with ASSOCHAM and with the government in taking the digital agenda forward. We would be eager to provide support around the COVID vaccine supply chain administration, I guess, which we would need over the next few months. We would also be privileged, if I could call it that, to continue to help create the new India or to make the next wave of digital India into a truly digitally intelligent India. So thank you once again, ASSOCHAM, and thank you again, Honorable Minister, for all your support over the years.
Thank you, Mr. Baba. It is a pleasure to listen to you. Honorable Minister, Mr. Vineet Agarwal, who's our incoming president, has also joined us. So, very welcome to you, Vineet. Balaji, may I now come to you for your brief address before I go to the minister to share his views with us.
Thank you, Deepak ji, and we are indeed honored to have Honorable Minister of Law and Justice, Electronics and IT and Communication, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, among us today. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here to share your views with us. On behalf of the ASSOCHAM National Council on Digital Communication, I would like to first express our gratitude and congratulate you for being the torchbearer of Digital India. Your leadership has helped bring data democratization and digitalization on a massive scale in our country in just about 6 years. I thank you for your unflinching support during the toughest times faced by the industry. It has encouraged us as telecom operators to go the extra mile during the pandemic to help keep India connected and the economy running. Going back 6 years, the Indian telecom sector was just about transitioning from voice to database connectivity. The basic raw material spectrum was a scarce resource. As minister, you unleashed bold policies on spectrum trading and sharing. You worked with Defense Ministry, which was hitherto thought impossible, to secure allocation for more spectrum across bands. And suddenly, we were looking at India being spectrum surplus in a very short time for the very first time, actually. The recent cabinet announcement which you made on the spectrum auction will bring in more spectrum availability to meet the growing data aspirations and data demands of aspiring Indians. Electronics imports, particularly mobile imports, were extremely high. You took it upon yourself to encourage large global players to look at India as a manufacturing destination. And the results are there for everybody to see in a matter of years. By pushing the recent progressive production-linked incentive program, you are ensuring that in the new world order, India is now fast emerging as a preferred destination for manufacturing. Your thrust to promote innovation among startups and the focus on digitizing governance and public services augurs very well for a $1 trillion digital economy. As telecom operators, our networks provide robust telecom connectivity for 1.3 billion Indians across towns and villages, and is a foundation to achieve this vision. Earlier this year, under your stewardship, we celebrated with you the 25th year of mobile telephony in India. While a lot has been achieved, you reminded us that a lot more needs to be done. For instance, you mentioned it's our duty to connect the next 500 million people with broadband and include and bring about digital inclusion. You spoke about the National Digital Communication Policy, which I believe is a world trending visionary document that plans for this and more. The Connect India talks about range of strategies for establishing digital infrastructure on right-of-way portal, key emphasis on fiber rollout, active sharing, and access to backhaul spectrum, which is the need of the hour, to enable broadband for all. Under your able guidance, I am confident that we will have rapid implementation of these policies. The industry on its part will continue to play its role to enabling the digital transformation of the country. Just for instance, Vodafone Idea, the V brand, with your support, we were able to finish the world's largest integration in a record 2 years. We as a company and as industry are using IoT and artificial intelligence technologies to build about positive change in people's lives. For instance, we are using these technologies to change the lives of 50,000 farmers in MP and Maharashtra to improve their crop yield and enhance their agriculture income. Niranjan ji and Kulmeet talked about the CSC. With your encouragement, sir, we have now started working with them on the financial inclusion program called Jadu Ginnika, where we are using the CSCs to touch about 1.2 crore Indians, half of them women, in just 2 years. You gave us this idea of partnering CSCs, and you also flagged off the first vans which are going to provide the financial literacy to far-flung areas in rural India. We are now readying for 5G trials to arrive at India-specific use cases that will be relevant, as you said in the past, to our nation, our people and our businesses to harness the benefits of technology at population scale, and more importantly, showcase it to the nation. As an industry, as a company, we has built network based on 5G technologies using open source cloud, and the largest deployment of massive MIMO and dynamic spectrum refarming, which is a precursor to 5G. As we move into the new year, with the confidence that the government will soon deliver the vaccine for the masses to combat the virus, the telecom industry is also looking at a shot in the arm with necessary interventions, including reducing levies as per the NDCP and improving on ROW, which will improve the financial health of the sector and attract even more investment. I'm confident that with your support and your dynamic leadership, all these issues will be decisively dealt with to make the industry robust. As an industry body, ASSOCHAM, National Council for Digital Communication, will continue to be industry's voice in the telecoms and digital space and partner with the government to meet its economic and larger targets. We've had the privilege of your presence, sir, in launching knowledge reports in the past, which provide inputs for policy making, and we look for more such occasions in the future. We thank you once again for being the support for the industry, for achieving the larger interests of citizens and country. As members of ASSOCHAM, we remain committed to build digital networks to keep people, enterprise, and economy running and enabling the achievement of Digital India vision through inclusive growth. Thank you. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you, Balaji. Thank you very much for that. We have possibly the largest digital identity platform that exists in the world. We possibly have the world's largest rural broadband network that is being looked at. I think we have the largest direct benefit, the direct transfer of credit to people within India. That's the largest platform, and the citizens' platforms, my government. So I think these visionary platforms are something which get credited to our minister, and this is something which is with platforms which are ready, and we can leapfrog and adopt any more technologies that could be required as we go forward. So with these words and our points from all of us, sir, Honorable Minister, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, the dice is yours. May I request you to please share your views and thoughts with us, sir.
Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, President ASSOCHAM, Mr. Deepak Sood, Secretary General ASSOCHAM, Mr. Bawa, President of SAP, Mr. Balaji, the well-known face of the mobile sector, Vineet Agrawal, Mr. P.K. Goenka, if he is there, past President, and ladies and gentlemen. My greetings to all members of the ASSOCHAM and greetings to the centenary celebration of ASSOCHAM. It's an important body of India's trade, manufacturing, commerce, a good resource platform for the government to finalize policies. I have been interacting, to my greetings to you. And I really appreciate the kind words about me. Thanks from the core of my heart, which all of you have used. The discourse is on digitization roadmap to support growth of Indian economy. Today, very briefly, I would like to recall what we promised and what we have achieved and how we wish to go further. Day before yesterday, I learnt about a news that a farmer in Samastipur district of my own state of Bihar, who had grown a good crop of cauliflower, gobi, was destroying it by running tractor because he was not even getting rupees 1 kilo for his produced. When this was brought to my notice, I asked my common service centers, all of you are talking about it, I'll speak about it later on, to contact the farmer, and they have developed an e-agriculture app whereby they connect the farmer with the market. And all the cauliflowers, nearly 4,000 kilos, were purchased by a trader from Delhi, giving him rupees 10 per kilo, sending 40,000 rupees straight digitally into his account. And the truck came from the trader and recovered all the cauliflower. This is digitization at work. Of late, farmers issue is very much in public domain. That is a separate chapter. In 2016, I asked my department to help establishing e-agriculture market. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to share with you that today, this e-mandi for farmers, digital mandi, has 1,000 mandis from 21 states on board, 1.68 crore farmers on board, 1,52,000 traders on board, and the farmers have done a business of 1,15,000 crores. I'm only giving you two instances that if you create a robust, people-friendly digital ecosystem, how it leads to acceleration of the economy. You all talked of COVID. COVID came. If I say in lighter Hindi, Mr. Hiranandani, na koi hawai jahaj, na koi train, na koi motor movement on the highway. But all the three wings of my department were hyperactive. The mobile, the telephone, and the internet on the communication side, the whole IT ecosystem on the IT side, and the postal department on the delivery of payment to far-flung marginal people through technology. Now I realized that I will have to do something revolutionary. And then I liberalized this entire work from home scenario. There was opposition. There was requirement of heavy deposit of security. Humne kaha, forget about it. I don't want Indian IT industry to be interrupted at all. I'm very happy to tell you that in spite of opposition from within the system, 1 month extension, 2 months extension, humne kaha, forget about it. Let's make it permanent. And I got the blessings of the Prime Minister. And today, not only work from home, but work from anywhere has become the norm, which is impacting a lot of IT establishment ecosystem as to how it is being encouraged. You know, how we could, if I was today, I will tell you what they have achieved and what is the roadmap as I foresee. Mr. Nandani and other friends, I wish to recall, in 2014 early or maybe 2013 closing, when the Prime Minister was unfolding his vision as to what India he wishes to create if he is elected the Prime Minister, he coined a famous expression: if I become the Prime Minister, I would like to make an India where IT plus IT is equal to IT. IT, information technology, plus IT, India's talent, IT, is equal to India tomorrow IT. But I never expected this big vision. He will put me on my small shoulders to deliver. Now, when I was finalizing the entire narrative of Digital India, I said, Digital India is designed to empower ordinary Indians with the power of technology, bridge the digital divide, and most important, bring in digital inclusion. Second, this must be achieved through technology which is homegrown, developmental, low cost, and also inclusive in character. This was the outline I gave for Digital India, because I knew India's IT sector has done very well in their services globally. But Digital India was beyond that. Now, what is the progress in the last 5.5 to 6 years? Balaji talked about some of the reforms I brought as the communication minister. I knew for sure to enable Digital India to succeed, communication is important. By one stroke, all the reforms needed, from spectrum sharing to trading to harmonization to open source, I completely liberalized. I'm very happy players have come. I permitted new licenses to 4G, to others. That is a separate story altogether. Now kindly see how we have been able to bring inclusion. You must have heard about JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile. India's population 1.3 billion plus. India is home to 1.2 billion mobile phones. Nearly 700 million smartphones. Large number of internet. The lowest data cost in the world. Now we opened 37 crore bank account the poor. We started delivering all the welfare measures from gas connection to Manrega payment to ration subsidy. I can tell you just one figure. In the last 5.5 years, Mr. Hina Nandani, we have sent 13 lakh crore, 175 billion in nearly 400 government schemes directly to the bank account of the poor. And we have saved 1.78 lakh crore, 24 billion, which used to be pocketed by middlemen and British governments. This is inclusive digital India. And this COVID, we have sent nearly 70 crore to people who were given additional benefit, the widows, the ladies, the gas connection subsidy, etc. We are giving your 2,000 rupees every 3 months, 6,000 to farmers. We are sending 1 lakh crore to 10 crore farmers, again digitally under this scheme. You talked about e-education, e-health, digital education. Now kindly see, my postal department must have gone to the remotest part in the COVID, where there is no bank, no ATM, but even a lady postwoman went with an app, Aadhaar enabled payment, and gave them 10,000 rupees. From agriculture to education to delivery of services to literacy. Now you talked of Common Service Center. I would request Mr. Nandani and all your friends to explore the potential of this great body. I was very clear that unless I allow a mass movement at Digital India, it will not succeed. Common Service Center is a digital kiosk that delivers digital services, from digital payment to making your passport to your land records to enabling you to finding the form for various competitive examination. As the law minister, I have put them for pre-litigation advice movement. They also have a panel of lawyers which we have selected. They give them pre-litigation advice. It was just nearly 80,000 when I came to power. I have scaled them to nearly 4 lakhs now. 12 lakh boys and girls work there. They have become entrepreneurs in their own right. In this COVID, I asked them to open e-shopping to deliver goods. You'll be happy to know 1,58,000 e-shops have been opened, and they have done a cool business of nearly 150 crores by selling goods, by becoming an e-commerce outlet during this COVID pandemic. Now big bodies, including Tatas, are approaching them to become their front-end delivery outlets. What I am simply telling you, how the digital connect is enabling innovation, enterprise, business instinct. I just wanted to tell you. Today I was going through the newspaper Economic Times, and to my pleasant surprise, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said Digital India and tech focus made country stand out. When I go abroad, this new theme of inclusive Digital India powered by technology with the involvement of ordinary people is being debated globally. We are also keen about infrastructure. Balaji talked about a little. We are linked about 100,000 villages by optical fiber. We link about 250,000 more very soon. The Prime Minister announced last year from the rampart of Red Fort, now we will link all the 600,000 villages of India by optical fiber. Within 1,000 days, that we are doing. Broadband mission Balaji talked about. By 2022, we are going to set up a big broadband mission for the entire country. Recently, we launched Vani. What is Vani? Public Wi-Fi network. And by this scheme, even an ordinary tea store or a grocery shop owner or a panwala can offer public Wi-Fi by getting connectivity without license, without registration, so that like the PCO, Wi-Fi movement becomes a public movement, generating employment, etc. Therefore, you have seen how in the last 5.5 years, Digital India has touched the chord of common people. Mr. Bawa talked about Umang. What is Umang? The Prime Minister said, I want governance to be available in the palm of every Indian. Umang is the platform app we created, and today nearly 1,200 government services of the Government of India and the state are available, and nearly 2 crore plus people are downloading it. You need not go from website to website to know about the government scheme. Click a button, all are there before you. Very briefly, I'd like to explain to you, yes, how we have been able to do it. Aadhaar, this whole Aadhaar digital identity is a public platform. GSTN is a public platform. Ayushman Bharat healthcare is a public platform. Nearly 12 crore Indians are getting benefited. Now the Prime Minister has announced, I want a digital health card for all the Indians. Therefore, as you are seeing, from Aadhaar to ENAM for agriculture, to GSTN network for delivery of sales tax, to Ayushman Bharat digital platform for the poor getting health care, now digital health identity card, all these are public digital platform developed by Indians, Indian minds. Again, low cost. So this second infrastructure we also succeeded. Do you know India has become one of the biggest center of fintech, UPI? Just to tell you one instance, Mr. Hiranandani and other friends, the number of UPI transactions reached an all-time high of 2.21 billion transactions in the month of November, worth lakhs and lakhs of crores. Therefore, the digital imprint is getting reflected in all the areas which we thought about. Now I come to two issues. One is data, the favorite of Mr. Nandani, and then electronic manufacturing and the future. Let me come to electronic manufacturing, because that is portfolio I also handle. I was given a robust presentation in the year 2014. We had one secretary and one joint secretary who is now the Defense Secretary of India. And they gave me a very robust picture as to what is in store for India in the field of electronic manufacturing. So I jokingly told them, "आप दो ही लोग मिलके इतनी बड़ी तस्वीर बनाओगे? Start thinking big, expand the footprint." And today I am very happy to share with you, we had just 2 mobile factories in 2014. Now India has 250 mobile manufacturing units. Only in Noida and Greater Noida, 90 plus factories have come. About 6 lakhs direct and indirect jobs have been given. And we had to persuade the establishment to come with modern policies. We came with MSIP's modified incentive. We gave just 1,000 crore rupees plus. And Mr. Dr. Niranjan, you will be happy to know that they have given tax worth 35,000 crores. Export worth 47,000 crores. If you come with proper policies, how the system responds. Thereafter, we came with this production link incentive. What is this? You produce, you export, you get the incentive. This we finalized in April this year, height of COVID. The last date of application was 31st of July, height of COVID. And do you know, we went in a very modest way. Top 5 global champions will come to India and 5 national champions will become global champions. I'm happy to tell you that they have collectively responded to make mobile and component worth 10 lakh crore in the coming 5 years. 7 lakh crore will be export and giving job direct and indirect to 9 lakh Indians. And they have come, production have started. All the top companies of the world have come to India. What is my future plan in electronic manufacturing? My future plan is very, very simple and very, very straight. I'm not going to stop with mobile phone simplicity or components. By 2025, we'll manufacture 1 billion phones, 50 million TVs, and 50 million hardware, including laptops and tablets. Because India has a huge potential for PCBs, for laptops, for IoT devices, for new machine devices, and obviously the conventional ones like TVs and phones. The whole idea is India must become a big global center of mobile manufacturing. And India's talent, India's innovation, India's demographic dividend, which Baba talked about, has enough potential to make India get propelled as the top manufacturing destination in the world. This will include strategic electronics as well. Therefore, you talked of $5 trillion economy. I have not the slightest doubt that by proper scaling of electronic manufacturing, we'll be able to contribute $1 trillion by this manufacturing alone to country's kitty. And that is what I'm aiming for. And that's what we are sure to succeed. Now let me come to data. When I talk of data, I must compliment Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. I don't know how the data bug bit him, I don't know. But he is doing a great job in the field of data infrastructure in the country. I had inaugurated his biggest Asia's data center in Mumbai. I'm excited to learn that he's shifting to Noida and Greater Noida as well. You know why data is important? Data is going to drive the future world. And data management, data refining, data innovation, data utility are all going to become key drivers of digital economy. I can't foresee how much money Dr. Niranjan is going to earn when the future unfolds as far as data economy is concerned. My ambition is very clear that India should become the top global company, the nation in the field of data refining, data innovation. Today also, large number of Indian companies are doing all these things for international companies. Yes, we have come with a data protection law under examination by select committee. My view is very clear. Data of Indians can be taken with their consent, voluntary. And if the fiduciary, which we call the trustee who take it, must use it for the purpose they have taken. And if there is consent, data can go outside also for refining, no problem. But I am very clear that India should not compromise on its data sovereignty, because data as an economy is emerging globally, and there is going to be big competition for monopolizing data. India is too huge a country. I have understood the subject thoroughly with my professional legal mind, and I am very clear, India shall not compromise on the data sovereignty of Indians. Yes, I am willing for reciprocity. Why not? I am willing for exchange. Why not? But Indians with their powerful creative mind must be allowed to have a very profound play in the emerging contours of data economy as it unfolds. I'm all for opening of data centers all over the country. I would recommend enterprise and companies in this field to explore the potential of this particular opportunity, Dr. Hinandani was the first to tap it. Others should also tap it. And I'm very clear that with a good policy, which we are keen to project, Government of India's support and private enterprise cooperation, no one can stop India becoming a big global player in data economy. That is one of my great ambitions. Yes, new technology is there, from AI to IoT. We need to explore it. The Prime Minister is very clear that AI must be used for agriculture, for healthcare, for education. There is enormous potential. And my take is always very straight and simple. Data economy, AI must be used for the benefit of the common people. Because in my ecosystem, you all need to know, India's digital profile will succeed only and only when the common people will come to have a stake in that. I've opened BPO in small towns of India, from Siliguri to Jorhat to Assam to Patna to Muzaffarpur to Gaya to many other places. Vani I just talked about. Now we have come with a new scheme, Chunauti, which will tap talent of small Kasbai towns, will give them of innovation and creativity. We will give them a 25 lakh rupee subsidy as well. India has become the third biggest startup country in the world. You all know it in the last 5 years. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the potential of India. If this is the potential, we all need to work together. ASSOCHAM, the quality of service will be driving it. The mobile player, the IT player, the internet player, and all the companies are going to tap the enormous opportunity which the digital ecosystem awaits to be properly tapped and used. So that is the potential. $5 trillion economy, no one can stop. I had set a target of $1 trillion as the contribution in that $5 trillion economy in the country. I think if you all cooperate, the $1 trillion contribution will be a small one. It is going to exceed that particular target. With these words, my greetings and thanks once again to ASSOCHAM for asking me to speak on such a vital issue. Thank you. Namaste. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. It is always so nice to hear encouraging words from you, the direction that you gave. It's highly motivating for all sections of industry. Obviously, we have the data centers and data part of it. We have the telecom communication side of it and also the IT side of it. There's a huge role to play, and thank you so much for your time. I'm now going to request Vineet Agarwal ji to propose a formal vote of thanks and share his remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak ji. It is my privilege to give the vote of thanks to Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, Honorable Minister for Law and Justice, IT, Electronics and Communication. Thank you, sir. Thank you for gracing us with your presence today at the ASSOCHAM Foundation Week. Sir, your role as not just the person who's leading the digital transformation of the country, but also in terms of law is very, very critical. So we are in the logistics business, and one of the things that I was discussing with one of the truck manufacturers is that you have an onboard computer on your truck, and that when you take it for servicing, all that data goes to you. And I was telling him that, no, that data actually belongs to me. So when you're selling me a truck, you should also sell a data agreement with it. So now the question of both law and digital is so intricately linked that it is getting more and more complicated, if I may say so. And ultimately, this would be the differentiation between us, as you rightly said, as a country, in terms of how we are able to utilize this most effectively. As a country, I think the importance in the past was roti, kapda, makan, and then subsequently we came to transport, and now it's broadband or internet connection. The perception gap that will exist between people with haves and have-nots is going to be the availability of internet connection. As we have seen in this last few months with the pandemic, that it's people who've had this internet connection, the digitized world that they've lived in, have been able to thrive and live their lives. So this is going to be a very critical part, sir. And we as a country need to skip generations when it comes to certain kinds of adoption of technology. Only then can we move forward. Thank you for gracing us with your presence today at the Associate Foundation Week, and we look forward to interacting with you in the future again.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you all delegates and all speakers. Thank you very much. Let's close the session now.
Thank you.